Good day, everyone. Today is another follow-up video for a homework assignment, primarily working with table joins and a spatial join, so getting students used to working with some of the ACS census data and some other point level files that we'll use from HIFLD. The assignment you can see here, and we'll go through and download some census tracts, counties, the Arkansas tract level population GINI, and then from the DHS HIFLD, we'll grab all places of worship. With that, when I say census tracts, you can do state by state to get all of them. That's where kind of this question I had in mind come to it. And for Texas, it creates a bit of an issue when you have some slower computers. So I'm going to just see what Google kicks back for us. And then at the bottom part, we're asking for a map. And I'll go through a part of this to show the label and how you can change it. But pulling the GINI Index of Inequality across Arkansas communities, so tract level, changing or updating the symbology to have a quantile or quintile, and then showing the top or highest 20% that have the most inequality and then the lowest from that. And we changed it in class depending on the wording that you wanted to use. I was fine with that. It was just more so just make it clear of what you were trying to voice, because it also asked a description of how to interpret the GINI within it, so adding a text box to it. With that, let's get started on the top part and with asking how many census tracts are there within the contiguous United States. So with that, what originally I had in mind is just download the US census tract shapefile for it and go about your way with it. Not as easy or more so time tedious than that. So how many census tracts in US? So this is me just typing it in. You can see it comes back to the US Census Bureau, and it ends up giving you some numbers for it. I didn't end up requiring this in class, mostly because it takes a lot of time to it. But you can see how many there are in the US as a whole from census tracts. With that, US, Puerto Rico, other island territories. You could go in and get state by state and do this that way. You can see that here. So with that, I didn't ask specifically. I let students slide on this question, but you could get the state-by-state navigation from it. You can see here what that looks like at the block level with it as well. So pretty handy if you ever need that in the future with it. All you would do, you can export this or truly just copy paste, or if you're familiar in Excel, you can grab this table from the website, bring it in, and display it that way. For the contiguous United States, you would kick out Alaska and Hawaii. Dependingly, some people like to keep in DC, some don't. But with that, you can see the count here. So with that, question one, I kind of just defaulted and let students slide on this one for now. But if you remember the last question that asked how many tracts are there in Texas? So I can easily just scroll down, find Texas here, and see that we have, make sure this was the tract column. Yep. We have 6,896. So I'm going to put that in. I'll bring the Word document over at the end to show you the answers to it. The cool part is it does give you how many are water only within it. Not a lot of people think about that. So the population or resident would be 0 for it. So pretty handy tool here if you're just interested in counts based across different states or different spatial units of analysis. So if we scroll up here, this is what I mean, different spatial units of analysis, divisions, regions, zip codes, school and voting districts, everything to it. Places oftentimes what we think about as cities based on population. And you can see just different levels of analysis. We're good to go there. With that though, we now need a county level file for the entire United States to figure out what the FIPS is for Sangamon County, Illinois. And we've used county level data before, mostly with our ATS terrorism data. But with that, I'm still going to get in the habit, and this is just to show students how to download some different shape files online, and how to pull it in, and then how to identify specific ones. So still getting into some of our select by attribute information, or just sorting and filtering and finding what you need. So with this, it needs the FIPS for Sangamon County, Illinois. With that, I need a county file. So with that, you can do, I prefer web interface. We'll come to 2020, and this is asking for county level. So I'm going to do county, submit, and it's going to download the national file for me. It's going to ask me where. Go into my spatial course, and this was week 9. I'll create an assignment folder. And save it in here. You saw I probably already had it in there. So now I have the county file here and we can work with this. Big part is I need to extract that out. So if I'm in my folder and I already had it, but oops. In my assignment one, I need to open, extract all, and just save it as a separate folder. And now I can open GIS. So I haven't opened that yet for this assignment. We'll get going with this. With that, we'll need a couple other files, and I'll do that in a second. I just kind of want to work through, since the first one is county level, then we'll grab some places of worship data as well. So with that, let's just make a new one. This will be, what is it, week 9 assignment. Save this in the same folder that I've been working from for this specific week itself. Assignment, okay. We're good to go there, and it's going to open now a base map for us. Keep in mind, if you ever want to change your base map that you're working with, you have that option in your map to where if you want to look at something else, have options here, plenty to work with. But at this point, we want to add some data. Specifically, we want to add that county level information. So I'm just directing to the folder where I just saved it and extracted it. I'm going to open up my US counties. So with this, I'm just going to zoom in, just scrolling. The question asks, what is the FIPS, the federal identifier for Sangamon County, Illinois? So with that, I'm going to open the attribute table, and we see that there's 3,234 counties here. The oh shit is, how am I going to find that? And if you look through this attribute table, you can see it kind of gives you a couple options. You have name here you can work with. You have the name and the county attached to it. So you can also know, you can also look up the state level or state number, the FIPS for specifically Illinois as well. So, but at this point, we can still do a select by attribute. So I'm going to do select by attribute. And let's do name is equal to and fine, and it'll give you all the ones. And not surprisingly, given the United States, we have a lot of same name counties across different states. So I'm going to scroll up to find Sangamon, click apply. And luckily there's only one, and I chose this because I'm actually from this county where I grew up. You can see here it is, and if I click over to the selected feature, the FIPS I'm asking for is essentially the GeoID. All it's doing is taking the state code and county code and combining those together. So Illinois is the 17th state, so it has the 17, and Sangamon County is 167 within Illinois. So the FIPS for it is 17167. So I'm going to put that down, 17167. We're good to go. So we have the second question answered. The third one's asking, how many places of worship are there in Pulaski County, Arkansas? So for that, it's asking, one, I need the places of worship. I have all the county information, but I need to join, essentially get a count of places of worship by the county. So for that, I need to hop into the HIFLD website. And this is the data set or data portal that I've used quite often. And here I'm just going to type in worship and it will pop up for me. If you ever get this record or this sign of too many records, if you were just to zoom in, the points end up showing up for you. It's just there are a lot, and you can see how many there are up here. The cool part is it's asking how you want it to download. I'm just going to go ahead and download it as a shapefile. It's already in my week 9 assignment folder, all places of worship, going to save it there. Now I just need to extract it. And we're good to go. Now I have a folder of that. Hop back into ArcGIS, open this up, and if I come back to my assignment folder, you see, oh shit, that folder's not showing up. Remember, you've had ArcPro open, so you just need to refresh it to remind it that there's other data that you just opened in it. You can do F5, or you can hit the refresh button up here, and now I have the folder that has all places of worship. Add these points in, and we're gonna see that we have, what was it, 254,000 load into this. The question now is, how many are within Pulaski County, Arkansas? To do this, we can do a point to polygon spatial join. So it's going to be a count. I want a count of places of worship by each county in the United States. With that, I'm going to do a join just out of the gate to where I want to join the points to this layer. So I'm going to do a spatial join. I have points I want attached to a specific county. So with that, I'm going to join in place of worship. I'm going to say that are within, contain, sorry, there we go. So our County contains our places of worship, so polygons contain points. Click OK. And it's going to create a new layer, or this one's just going to add it to it. My computer's a little different than the ones in the lab. Oftentimes it will ask you as an output layer what it wants you to name it. So this is adding the spatial join to it. If I open this attribute table now, and this is where you become familiar with, it will be the join count field. And I'm going towards the end. There we are, join count. So this is what was attached or added to my county level files. So we have some that have 0. If I go down, we also have some counties that have over 9,000 places of worship, which is in LA. So they're not shocking there, and I'm just seeing that name here. But with that, we can now identify Pulaski County specifically and see how many are within Pulaski County, Arkansas. In a similar manner, I'm going to do a select by attribute. And this time I'm going to do a, I still have it selected. There we go. So now I'm going to do the select by attributes, new selection. Oh, I have to export this out. Let's do this real quick. Export feature. This is where essentially you save it as a new layer automatically. County places of worship. Hit OK, and now I have a new layer that's specifically that. I'll open up this attribute table. Again, I still have, as I scroll over, the join count for us. There we are. So this is truly our join count, the number of points within each polygon. And here I want to do a select by location, or select by attribute, my apologies, within this file itself. So I have county places of worship where the name again is equal to, this time I'm looking at Pulaski County. This one's going to generate, and I already know, given what people worked on in class, there's going to be more than one Pulaski County in the United States. That is completely fine. So if we hit apply, you can see we have 7 out of 3,234 selected. I'm going to click on the show selected records. If I scroll to the left where it gives us our state and county FIPS code, being familiar with this is helpful because we know from multiple assignments, multiple walkthroughs, Arkansas is the 5th state. So when we've covered the FIPS, we've always had to add in that leading 0. So we actually know our 7th record here, the one I just clicked on, is Arkansas. So if I highlight that, come back to the join count, I know that there's 404 places of worship within Pulaski County, Arkansas. So I have my answer there. The next question is asking how many total characters or digits are there in a tract level FIPS? So with that, we're dealing with county level information now. Knowing what we have to do in part 2 of this assignment is to do Arkansas tract level data. I'm going to go ahead and come back into our census download. Going to change this time though to tract level, and it's going to ask me for what state. I want tracts in Arkansas. Going to hit download here, and I'll extract it all in the folder. And we're good to go there. So I'm going to hop back in our map, clear everything else out because the next question is understanding the tract level information. So I'm going to add, oops, I didn't want to do that. Remove, add data, come back, need to refresh again. Tract level, and we have Arkansas tracts. So I'm going to zoom in or zoom to layer. We now have Arkansas tracts. With this, I'm going to open the attribute table, and it's asking how many characters or digits in total are there for a tract level FIPS. With that, this walks you through how many. So at the state level, you have 2. County level, you have 3. And at the tract level, you have 6. So you end up combining those into your GeoID, which gives you 11 total. So we have our state, so it tells us Arkansas. We have our county, which tells you which county it's in. Then within each county, you have specific tracts, and that's where you see a different digit within here. So we have 11 total, each one being a unique identifier across the 823 tracts throughout the state. So with that, that would be 11 characters or digits. With that, we've done the top part of the assignment, and I'll pull it over. Again, I said we could slide on the US Census Tracts contiguous. I walked you through where to get the information. All you would have to do is take it into a table and add them up. Nothing crazy there. The FIPS code for Sangamon County, how many places of worship are in Pulaski County, Arkansas, how many characters or digits are there in a tract level FIPS, then how many tracts are within Texas. I used that from the website that I walked you through. Now the second half is to make a final map that's displaying the GINI Index of Inequality across Arkansas Census Tracts. So right now we just downloaded the Arkansas Tracts. So we actually need to go in and download. I asked people to get Total Pop and GINI. So let's do that part of the assignment. Come back in here. Keep in mind, by default, I go towards Social Explorer, given our affiliation and easeability of using it. Hop into tables. With this, I can use the 5-year estimates. I'll use 2021. If you use 2020, it's fine. Begin report. At this point, I'm interested in tract level. So here I'm going to go down and select Census Tracts within Arkansas. I don't care about a specific county. I want all the census tracts within the state. So I'm selecting that. I'm going to add that to my geography. Proceed to table. And this one asks me to grab total population and then to find the GINI Index of Inequality. And this is where I usually scroll by it. So I'm trying to pay attention. There we are. So I have the two measures. I'm going to show results. We have these values across those. So we're good here. Now I'm interested, similar to before, the data download, output labels and columns. I'm not caring about the percentage at this point. We see that we have 823. That matches our GIS file that I just had open for the attribute table. Download the CSV, and I'm just going to rename it ACS Tract Arkansas. It's in our week 9 folder that I need. Going to open this up because we need to do a little work on it before we can merge it straight into Arc Pro. With that, out of habit, I delete the second row. Our first row are more descriptive for us. And again, if you notice here, and if we come back into GIS, this is the GeoID that we need. So again, keep in mind, this has that 0 at the beginning. We need that leading 0. If you see our FIPS here, it's actually missing that. So it kicks it out. We're going to recreate that. I'm going to just delete some of this information here that we don't need. Delete a lot of the empty cells information that we have. And then come over to the information we do need. So we have the total population, GINI index. I just get in the habit of making these shorter. And we're good to go. Now we've done this a couple different ways in terms of how we can select out our GeoID. What I've showed before is using our write command. So it identifies we want to pull out the right text of a specific cell. This one would be our geographic identifier here. If you remember at the tract level, there's 11 digits or characters that we need. So I can put 11 in there, close it off, and it brings us that 0 here. Just what we need, we're good to go. Copy that down. I'm going to copy now the column. Oops. I'm going to paste this as values to get rid of the underlying formula. So that's one quick and easy way to do this. And you can see here the individual parts. The other option is I'm just going to put a column over here. I'm going to call it display. Is what's called concatenation. I use this a lot with addresses, not as much anymore, but you can concat, and I can specify that I want a 0 followed by another text field, which is this one here. Close it off, and it ends up adding that back in there for me. So we do have multiple ways of doing this. Copy, paste it as value so it doesn't have an underlying formula to it as well. Can hit save. This is still a CSV, so I'm going to save it as a workbook just so it keeps that leading 0 for us. We're good there. Hit save. And now we have our social GINI index value here. What we are interested in, what does the GINI index of inequality actually mean? So that's what we need to look up. So first I'll add in the data and then we'll look that up. Again, assignment, we're missing that. Just refresh. We have our Excel worksheet that we just created. Bring in this, and now if I were to open this table, we have our play field and our GeoID that matches our GOID here. So we'll do a table join here in a second. In the meantime, we're interested in what these values mean for a GINI index. So what is the GINI index of inequality, or the coefficient here? Wikipedia is pretty good with it as well. I was hoping, there it is, the Census Bureau. And it gives you a summary of the income inequality. So what it refers to as the GINI coefficient ranges from 0, indicating perfect equality, where everyone receives an equal share, to 1, perfect inequality, where only one recipient or a group of recipients receives all of the income. The GINI is based on a difference in the Lorenz curve, observed cumulative income distribution, and the notion of a perfectly equal income distribution. So the greater we get to 1, the more inequality there is. So that's the top or the highest inequality if we think about it that way. So with that, we want to display that and see what it looks like across Arkansas communities. With that, we want to join our table, that ACS data that we just downloaded that has the total population and GINI index. We want to join that to our boundary file here. So since I want to join it to the boundary file, I'll click on that one, right click, go into join and relates, and add a join. This one is a table join. Keep in mind on this one, we want to use the GOID here. So we want to specify GOID, and it automatically identify the GOID within our table. We can hit validate join to see how many match across those. And you can see here our input table and join table has 823, so they match. We're good to go. We can hit close here. We're okay. And at the end of our block group or tract level file, you'll see we now have the total population and GINI index. Now the assignment wants you to map this, or display this. Right now, the symbology is already open for our tracts. All you have to do is change our single symbol to our purposes as a graduated color. It defaults to the land one. We want to use that GINI coefficient that we just added to it. Right now it's using a natural break. We want to change it to quantile, and it asks for the 20%. So we want, I'm just reversing these values and then the colors. So inequality is at the top, our more equality is at the bottom, our lower values here. So to change what this looks like value-wise, you can just double-click on the label. You can say highest 20%, top 20%, anything you want here. And once you change it within the label, it also updates in your table of contents, but also when you add that legend to your final map, it updates there. So you can even leave them blank if you want. This would be bottom, lowest. So you have some flexibility there. Again, you can change the color that you want it to show. Keep in mind, you want it to make it easiest on, it's just changing one versus all. So with that, keep in mind, so this was 5. So if I change this to a 10, it would be each one of these labels is now a 10% versus, or 10% versus the 20%. If I change this to say green, I wanted to do money. So each, and I'm going to reverse this to where darker green's more inequality, lighter green is less inequality. If I change this back to 5, essentially think of that as you're taking the number of tracts here and dividing that into percentages. So our, change this symbol again, our dark green would be the highest level of inequality. So it would be 20% of our tracts here. And then the lowest would be the bottom 20% here. Again, if I wanted to change this to bottom 20%, can change it here and it updates automatically, and we're good with updating all of these. If you wanted to change this to top 20% or whatever you felt was more reflective of that, along with a description, you're fine with that. If there's any question, feel free to reach out. Until next time, take care.